Friends, hope you are doing well and welcome on in to a Monday edition of Nashville's Morning News. Now, as you know, we've been picking our own bumper music, our own Christmas bumper music here on the morning show. And Joan, we did mine in the 6 o'clock hour. Now, you're going to do yours here in the 7 o'clock hour very quickly. What is your choice?
It is Lauren Daigle's version of Noel.
Oh, very good. Boy, she's got a pure voice. This is Lauren Daigle?
Does. Yeah.
Who is she?
She's a Christian artist.
Okay.
And she's got it's like a raspy, cool sound to her voice.
You know, Amy and I were talking over the weekend about how, you know, all these Christmas music stations, they always play the old versions of all of these songs. I've never heard this. Why have I never heard this?
I don't know, but it starts out slow here. You know, if you get to the chorus, it's really good. Here you go.
Dang. Love it.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's better than mine.
No, it's not.
What I had in the 6.
I liked yours.
Well, yeah, but then you totally showed me up with that. Mine in the we'll review everyone's.
Mm-hmm. Yours is classy.
Okay. Yeah.
Hers is just true to the spirit of the season.
Yeah, and you know what? Do you know what I found with this whole this is serious. Like I'm going to be serious. Do you know that this exercise has actually helped me with my appreciation of Christmas music?
That's
it has.
good.
Because when we started this thing, it was all because I hated the Christmas music that number one, the company was forcing us to play, so we decided to do our own. That's number one. But number two, there's a lot of undiscovered Christmas music out there. At least I haven't discovered it. But I think there's so much. And everybody always focuses on the classics of like the 50s and the 60s. But that's really good. And again, I've never heard it. Now, perhaps part of the problem is that I'm not a big fan of Christmas music generally, so I don't seek it out like other people do. But that was really good.
Do you have a subscription to Spotify or anything like that?
I think I have Apple Music.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Because you can make playlists, you know, and
I could.
When you hear these songs, you can add them to the playlist, and then you have something that you like curated by you for the season. Yeah.
So I'm hearing this exercise has greatened your appreciation for Christmas music.
Heightened my appreciation for Christmas music.
It made your heart grow 3 times.
Oh, you beat me to it, Joan.
What? Okay, now what is that?
It's
Grinch.
A reference to the Grinch.
Oh, okay.
Your heart got 3 times.
And his heart grew 3 times.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh.
Just moving right along. Moving right along.
We'll pull it up for the handoff.
No, you know what? I've seen the Grinch, but you know what my problem is? I have a terrible memory, Jane. I have a terrible memory.
I have experienced.
We went to a party on Saturday night, and there are people there that I've known for years now, but I haven't seen them in a while. Forget their names. Amy, who's that again? What's his name?
Yeah, so you do that thing where Amy Amy remembers, she says the name of that person loud enough so you can hear. So you go, oh yeah, hey John, nice to see you.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all a code, you know.
Oh, so for sure.
Anyway, so I want to play some audio. So J.D. Vance, Turning Point USA, and a lot of people are saying, well, you know, this was, really for J.D. Vance, this was an opportunity for him to sort of rise above all of the noise that was going on. And by the way, Matthew Hurtt is going to join us at 8:06 to give us a full update on what happened over the weekend at Turning Point USA. But this is J.D. Vance. I just want to, play a few select cuts of the vice president's message. And I liked what he had to say.
But let me just say, the best way to honor Charlie is that none of us here should be doing something after Charlie's death that he himself refused to do in life. He invited all of us here. Charlie invited all of us here for a reason, because he believed that each of us, all of us, had something worth saying, and he trusted all of you to make your own judgment. And we have far more important work to do than canceling each other. Yep. We have got to build, and President Donald Trump is a builder.
See, I really believe that J.D. Vance is a uniter. Like, if you think, and we talked about this earlier in the broadcast, where you have Steve Bannon going after, Ben Shapiro, and Shapiro going after, I don't know, Tucker Carlson. You had Megan. It's all these influencers are just, battling each other. And it's like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, the thing that I don't like about that is that it interferes with the conservative goals and messaging moving forward. But J.D. Vance is absolutely right, which is Charlie Kirk invited everybody into the tent. By the way, one of my favorite moments was when Donald Trump Jr. came up on stage and he had his dad on speakerphone. Yeah.
I wanted to call in a little guest. He may not be here today, but I wanted to make sure he had a chance to say hi. Mr. President?
He's literally got the president on speakerphone, and he's holding it up to the microphone that is like on his shirt.
Can you guys hear?
Oh, I want to be with you, but I'll be with you soon. And I just want to say that nobody did more for me than Charlie, and there's nobody better than Erica. And you are the greatest people on earth. We won in a landslide, and we're going to continue to do it.
So that was Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and the president. I'm not entirely certain why President Trump wasn't there, but I think perhaps it's because this really was, at least to me, and I'll ask Matthew Hurtt about this, but I think it was partly because this really was J.D. Vance's moment to shine. It really wasn't about Donald Trump. It was about moving forward as a party towards the midterm elections. And so the president, again, he gave a rousing speech via speakerphone. He also, by the way, had a video that was put out as well. But there's a lot of love that has been thrown J.D. Vance's way. And I think there's a reason for that. I do believe that J.D. Vance can be a uniting force for the Republicans. I see that he, at least to me, he is somebody that could bring all sides together for the bigger cause and the greater good, which is defeating the Democrats in the midterm elections. We'll have to wait and see where that goes. But 2028 is going to be epic. Here's more from J.D. Vance.
When I say that I'm going to fight alongside of you, I mean all of you, each and every one. President Trump did not build the greatest coalition in politics by running his supporters through endless, self-defeating purity tests.
Now, that is where he is talking about the battles going on between the influencers. And I've got more from J.D. Vance coming up. Great audio straight ahead. And to me, playing this audio makes me feel really good about the future of the conservative movement. Jones, Sam, do you see that J.D. Vance do you think he's the one guy that can unite everybody? What do you think?
I don't think he's the one guy.
You don't think he's the one guy? Okay.
I think Marco Rubio is underrated in his ability to bring people together.
That may be, but he's not nearly as present and forward,
eloquent.
Well, he's just not out there. Like, you don't see him out there in situations like this ever, actually.
I will say this. I think Marco Rubio was there earlier. But
was he?
He was, I think. We'll ask Matthew Hurtt. But I think that J.D. Vance, number one, Marco Rubio's got this. I don't think this is controversial. Marco Rubio's got a lot more going on than J.D. Vance.
Yeah, and I more so mean by his actions. Like nobody on the right can complain about the job Marco Rubio's doing.
No, he has done a great job. He was, he is, of course, Secretary of State, and he's done a lot of great things. J.D. Vance, though, I believe that he is the heir apparent. Here's more of what he was talking about in uniting the conservative movement.
He says, make America great again because every American is invited. We don't care if you're white or black, rich or poor, young or old, rural or urban. controversial, or a little bit boring, or somewhere in between. People of every faith come to our banner because they know that the America First movement will make their lives better, and they also know that the Democrats don't care about anything other than maybe transing their kids.
Fact check
so
true.
If you love America, if you want all of us to be richer, stronger, safer, and prouder, you have a home on this team.
A lot of folks saying that J.D. Vance's speech was incredibly unifying. And that is, I'm going to say this, that is, and I'm not coming down on all the influencers, it's like whatever, but that is the difference between the vice president and these influencers. No offense to any of them, but, you know, their whole deal is clicks and controversy, hating on each other. And J.D. Vance is just cutting right through all of that. Now, again, I'm not saying that they're disingenuous, the influencers. I'm not saying that they're disingenuous in what they're doing, but there's just a certain eloquence and a certain passion that J.D. Vance brings to his message and brings to his job. And you heard him say, you know what, we're welcoming everybody under our tent, which is why they had everybody like Steve Bannon and Megyn Kelly and some of these other folks that were there, and they're all bashing each other. And to me, it's sort of like, all right, whatever. But J.D. Vance nails it when he says, let's all just try to put our differences aside and realize that if we simply work together, we can make America great again.
Unlike the left, we stand against treating anybody, and I love what Nikki said about this. We don't treat anybody different because of their race or their sex. So we have relegated DEI to the dustbin of history, which is exactly where it belongs.
Yep.
In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore.
Have you noticed, Sam, Joan, you both were all online. You folks noticed that there's a trend going on the socials right now where white people are taking to the socials and saying, you know what? We're mad as hell and we're not going to take this anymore.
I have seen a lot of it.
Where white people are like, no, I'm not going to be ashamed that I'm white. I'm not going to perpetually defend myself simply because I'm white. Well, I've noticed that, and I love it. And there's, by the way, some black influencers who are airing the white people that are, I don't know, defending their whiteism, whatever, and they're saying that these people are absolutely right.
Yeah. There's a wonderful young lady on Instagram. Her handle is Black Card Declined. And, yeah, she's fantastic. Really? Yes, she jumps right into it. Young woman, I want to say she's like in her early 20s. And it's the mindset that, and the irony from the left, right? Like, you know, their soft on crime policies are because of systemic racism. So how could we hold somebody accountable because the system has been against them for decades? Yep. Well, we're going to hold the slavery of ancestors against the white people of today. That doesn't track.
No, it doesn't. Here's more from J.D. Vance.
And if you're an Asian, you don't have to talk around your skin color when you're applying for college because we judge people based on who they are, not on ethnicity and things they can't control. We don't persecute you for being male, for being straight, for being gay, for being anything. The only thing that we demand is that you be a great American patriot, and if you're that, you're very much on our team.
Yep. I've actually started watching a lot of these videos where white folks are pushing back of this concept that is, you know, it's a construct of the left where you can't or you're not allowed to be proud of your culture. And I like that pushback. You know, just because you're white does not mean that you cannot be proud of who you are, your family, or what white people have accomplished over the years. You can have black pride, you can have Asian pride, you can have Hispanic pride, but apparently white folks aren't supposed to be proud of who they are. So J.D. Vance, he is absolutely right on that. And so for me, I love the pushback that is happening on the socials. I love what JD Vance is saying. And I love the concept of just saying, you know what? Regardless of your skin color, if you want to be proud of who you are and your family and your culture, that is absolutely allowed. We do have more from JD Vance coming up. Maybe I'll save it for the 8:05 segment when we speak with Matthew Hurtt, who, of course, if you're listening, Turning Point USA, they had their big Amfest over the weekend. It does seem to me like this thing was a huge, and I mean a huge success. But coming up, I've been looking forward to this all weekend. Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti is going to be joining us at the state of Tennessee suing Roblox. And if you don't know what Roblox is, if you've got a son or a daughter, grandson, granddaughter of a certain age, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17, 18, trust me when I say they know what Roblox is. The question is, do you know what dangers are lurking on Roblox, this massive gaming platform? We are going to speak to Jonathan Skrmetti about that and some other things, some big accomplishments from 2025. So what is Roblox and why are they always in the news? Well, I've got a 12-year-old in my house. So if you have kids or grandkids, this story matters because it is possible that they are on this platform called Roblox. I think Roblox. And so what Roblox does is it allows kids of all ages to basically play and create games. It is this huge platform. But the accusation is that there are also predators lurking and grooming going on. Now, I've spoken about this several times with you, friends. The creators of Roblox, they market themselves as safe, but one kid known as Schlep, that's his screen name, he says that he was groomed on Roblox, and not only that, but these days, Schlep has been exposing the grooming attempts of others on the platform. It is horrifying stuff. And so you would think that Roblox would be appreciative of, Schlep doing the hard work of letting them know where the predators are. But unfortunately, they actually banned him from the site for exposing all of this. So now our own Attorney General, Jonathan Skrmetti, is joining in this fight, and he joins us here on Super Talk 99.7. Attorney General Skrmetti, always great to have you on. Did I read somewhere where in the lawsuit against Roblox, you've actually described Roblox as a creepy cargo van?
So I did do that, Dan. It's great to be back on. We have to cut through and make sure people understand exactly what's going on here. And, just like a cargo van, sometimes there's a contractor inside, sometimes there's a predator inside. Roblox gives people access to kids, and, there's an inherent danger there, and the platform has not acknowledged that, has made all sorts of false statements about how it's the safest place online. We need to hold them accountable.
So how do you decide? We're not the first in this. I think we're the 6th or 7th state maybe. But how do you decide, or why did you decide to take on this case?
So Liz Merle in Louisiana, I think, is the first one that did this. And we had talked about it as she was running up to it. And I really wanted to be in on this because I think it's important. There's so many kids that use this platform, and there's so little oversight. These big tech companies generally have gotten huge and done a lot of things with very little accountability. But where you're talking about so many kids on it, and just increasingly easy access to this giant population of naive potential victims, it's really, really important that you incentivize the company to protect its users. And Roblox has been doing everything but that.
One of the things because Roblox will say, oh, yeah, we take certain steps or measures to protect kids. Correct me if I'm wrong, but part of this lawsuit is the accusation that they're not living up to their marketing.
Yeah, that's correct. And they've been working harder and harder at it. As the lawsuits have started, they're scrambling to try to find something that's effective. But the problem is they're 20 years behind the ball. They've been around for 2 decades, and kids have been on this platform for ages. They've had tons of internal reporting. reporting from their users that there are vulnerabilities, that kids are vulnerable, law enforcement inquiries. People are able to get in touch with kids on this platform, convince them to move to a different site where the exploitation actually happens. But it's Roblox where the actual connections are made between the predators and the kids. And so that's where you have to be the most careful about safety. And meanwhile, they've been cutting their safety expenditures, trying to increase profits, literally at the expense of kids.
So are you, and I know that you're early on in this, but how do you just, as the Attorney General, and you've got people working on this, of course, as well, but do you go and you try to find the kids that have been groomed? This one kid, Schlep, I'm sure you know his story. Do you go talk to Schlep and try to find some of these other kids that have been groomed and hear their horrifying stories?
So there's some of that involved, and there's a huge multi-state effort here too, right? You've got multiple states suing, you've got private litigants suing, but the biggest thing we do is go back and look at the representations the company has made and see whether they're true or not. Because if you're talking about proving up patterns based on individual acts of exploitation, it can get tricky sometimes. The company is always going to say, well, we have a bazillion users, bad things are going to happen to a few of them. We hate that. We try to stop it. But what the company can't do is say, well, all these representations we made that weren't quite true are sort of true, right? Like they have to accurately describe their product to consumers. That's the essence of our consumer protection law. And so what we really did was go back and look at the contradictions between the complaints and the warnings they were receiving, which are all documented, and the representations they were making to consumers, which are all documented. And so there's some really terrible stuff that's happened on the platform, but our case boils down to, were they telling the truth or not?
Some of these, I find this interesting. I'm just reading about this. Experiences, and that's what they call them, include virtual strip clubs, sex rooms, escape to Epstein Island, Diddy Party, racist chat games, and mass shooting simulations, easily accessible to kids. And one of the things, as I'm reading about this, one of the things that they talk about is inadequate age verification as well, and inadequate chat controls. In a perfect world, Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti, what are you hoping to accomplish with the lawsuit? What is like the end game here?
I mean, there's 2 points. The first is to get Roblox to get right. But the second is to set an example, because there are so many tech companies out there, more and more access to kids, and we want them to know it is not worth it to try to cut corners at the expense of kids' safety. You might be able to make a little money off that for a while, but it's going to catch up with you. And so Roblox has done this for decades. You talk about the virtual strip clubs. Even if there was age verification, because they let the people who make the experiences set the appropriate age level, all you need is some creep to say, oh, well, everybody should have access to the virtual strip club, or everybody should have access to Epstein Island. And without the internal moderation processes, nobody can do anything about that. And then you have kids asking their parents, why is this Roblox spinning around a pole? It is a real internal mentality issue. The company and other companies that come after need to be looking out for the best interests of their consumers.
So do you want to shut them down? Do you want them to be more vigilant as far as the chat controls and the age verification and all of that? Because there's some people that want Roblox shut down.
I mean, what happens to the company is up to the company. If they're able to figure out a way to make it safe going forward, that's their business. What I want is for people to never think about cutting corners on kid safety again. And so if Roblox goes down as a result of this, because they're not able to do that, that's a them problem. But what we want to do is make sure that the incentives are there so that not just Roblox, but every company that is trusted with access to kids is telling the truth to parents so that parents can make an informed decision, and is taking the steps it needs to make sure that everybody knows what the risks are for the different parts of the experience that it offers.
Jonathan Skrmetti, we mentioned that there are a number of different 6 or 7 different lawsuits against Roblox from various states. You're right, Louisiana was the first. Is there anything that's unique about, I'm fascinated by this stuff. Is there anything that is unique about Tennessee's lawsuit against Roblox, or is it just sort of we're latching on to these other states? How does that whole thing work?
I think some of the other states are looking at the inherent safety issues too. Our case right now is focused just on the representations, and that is by design. It's a simpler case to make. We have tons of statements issued by the leadership of Roblox about how safe the platform is, and we have lots of documentation showing that it was not nearly that safe. And it gets a lot more complicated with Section 230 and with a lot of subjective evaluation of safety issues if you start looking at the actual design features. So we're trying to keep it really simple and basically take a sniper shot here.
So let me ask you this. If there are parents that have they're discovered that their kids have been groomed online, is there, do you want to hear from people? Because our text line here is blowing up with people that is, I was on Roblox and this happened to my son. Are you looking for, witnesses, if you will?
Absolutely. If anybody has any bad experiences or any insights to report, tn.gov/consumer. That's our website. There's an intake form there. You go to file a complaint and you provide us the information, and someone will get in touch with you from the office to get your story. So we would be very happy to hear from people who've had experiences here.
Love it. Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti is joining us. I don't mind telling you, I know that you know this. You've had an amazing year. Supreme Court upheld our ban on gender-affirming care for minors. I love that. You had the case blocking those Biden Title IX rules that would essentially allow men to participate in women's sports. So you happy with the way 2025, ended up? Do you have I don't know, I have like favorite topics and shows that I've done over the year. Do you have a favorite victory that you've had in 2025?
So we've had a lot of victories. It's been a really good year. And the Supreme Court is, otherworldly. I still can't believe my name's on that case. I think it's bonkers. And a lot of people worked really hard to deliver that win. But I think the Title IX rules win is the biggest win that we had, because if we had lost that case, our schools would still be in the process of radically redesigning America. I mean, you'd be in a situation where if a full-grown man walked into a high school girl's locker room and anybody complained, the person doing the complaining would be punished for violating the civil rights of the man walking into the locker room. You wouldn't even be allowed to ask if he identified as a woman, because that would be discriminatory under those rules. So, I mean, we dodged a bullet there. That was an unbelievably radical attempt to change the nature of American life. And, Whitney Hermendorfer led the charge on that. She's on the Court of Appeals now. But I think that's probably at least as consequential as the Supreme Court case.
All right. And last question here regarding legal stuff and the law. What do you have going on right now? We already talked about the Roblox lawsuit. Anything else that people might be interested in as we head into 2026?
We have a lot going on. We've got some irons in the fire that I think are going to make for a very, very interesting year next year that I can't quite talk about yet. The biggest limiter on what we're doing right now is just trying to juggle all the cases. I've got a great team. I've got a good-sized team, but we're doing a lot. And so, we have a few really neat things coming up that are going to be fantastic. And in the meantime, we're defending a bunch of state laws. We're litigating the National Guard case in Memphis. We're litigating some of the school-related laws. There's a constant stream of ACLU and ACLU-aligned lawyers who are coming after the different decisions that Tennessee's elected officials make. And we're going to stand between the people's elected representatives and these lawsuits, do our very best to make sure that Tennessee stays as self-governing as possible.
Not knowing I'm clearly not a lawyer, but, the Memphis National Guard story, it is clear that that is working to abate crime in Memphis. I mean, it's obviously working, and the people in Memphis are clearly happy with the fact that the National Guard is helping to stop crime in Memphis. So when you look at something that is clearly working, but you also see that, there are people that are against that for whatever reason, you look at that and clearly, and I believe on all of these cases, you are on the right side of the law and morality. And so, but when you look at that story, what do you think your chances are there? Does the fact that it has clearly been successful help with the lawsuit at all?
I mean, I think it's hard for that not to sort of seep into the case. It's been incredibly successful. I mean, the numbers are unbelievable, and it really shows that tolerating crime is a choice, and we don't have to choose it. But the courts take the law very seriously, and the judges do their very best to reach the legal outcome without taking into account that sort of thing. They want to look at the law and make sure that the letter of the law is being applied appropriately. I think we got some really good arguments. I think on the constitutional arguments, we have an absolute slam dunk. On the statutory arguments, I think we have very strong arguments. But there are two sides to every case, and I have no doubt that the courts are going to give this very thorough consideration.
So when you were in front of the Supreme Court, were you nervous when you were going into that case? I remember speaking to Jack Johnson about that. I think it was either that day or the previous day, but talk about that experience just real quick.
Yeah, so I mean, it is the highest court in the land. Every law student dreams of being in the Supreme Court someday. Most not as the defendant. That was a little bit weird. But that day in particular, you had such a stark distinction between the two people or the two sides of the cases, right? You had like thousands and thousands of people out in front of the court, and they were divided. And on one side, you had the folks who were for Tennessee. On the other side, you had the people who were against Tennessee. It was really easy to tell who was on which side. And even in the courtroom, you had people who had extremely colorful hair, or you had people who looked, pretty buttoned down and boring like me. And the neat thing is everybody was mixed together. And even though there was a lot at stake, there was still this respect for the justice system there, and people who were eager to hear the legal arguments. So it was kind of a reminder that, we even when we have so much to disagree about, there are still these common threads that we have. We're all Americans. We all have the Supreme Court that's going to make the final call on these legal decisions. And, of course, afterward, there was a lot of yelling from the protesters. My favorite part was we're coming down the steps, and the protesters were screaming some pretty loud stuff. And then someone started blasting Rocky Top over the sound system on the other side. And so I got to come down the steps of the Supreme Court and do this massive press gaggle there with Rocky Top blaring in the background. And that felt unbelievable. I mean, I will never have an experience like that again in my life.
That is awesome. All right. Well, Merry Christmas. Have you finished all your Christmas shopping yet?
Pretty much. I got like 3 things left to do. I got a lot of work to do, turning the presents into actual completed presents. So that's going to take up most of the next couple of days.
All right. Well, good luck on Christmas and good luck in 2026.
Thanks, Dan. Merry Christmas.
All right. We'll see you later. Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti.